So finally, it's time to recap Hydro. Hydro was fantastic, and ultimately, it is going to, I think, go down as one of those performances that years and years, and possibly even decades from now, I'm going to look back on because it is easily one of the most significant performances I've had. Probably the most significant performance I've had up until this date, as far as the bigger picture that I have in my head for what I want to do with light shows. And I bet y'all wonder, like, what the hell is this light show stuff all about? Where did it come from? Suffice it to say that my interest with light shows is right up there with air hockey, right up there with Dance Dance Revolution, running arcade tournaments, competing in arcade tournaments. But something changed about, what was it, 2 years ago now, where I have all these different interests. I have running arcade tournaments, both Dance Dance Revolution and air hockey, competing in them, also Street Fighter and chess, mixed martial arts, and the list goes on and on. And at a certain point, you have to just come to the realization that you can't do it all. You can't be the best at everything. And going all the way back to when I first started playing Dance Dance Revolution when I was 13 and 13, and running tournaments when I was 14, that desire was always there to be the best at what I did, to run the best tournaments, to be the best DDR player, best in the world. And same thing with air hockey when that came into the picture a few years later. But it was the summer of 2020, I'll never forget it, where I just had this aha moment where, in realizing that I had to start cutting certain things out of my life, or at least turning the dial down on them a lot if I ever wanted to become great at one thing, I realized it was light shows. People talk about this idea of a calling, and I've felt different callings at different points in my life, but something just happened where the light show felt like just another one of those callings, another passion of mine, and all of a sudden it just started shouting at me, this is the thing to master. Do this with your life. And I had already been performing for a little over a year at that point, but everything has been different since then, in that everything in my life, I have been orienting it towards pursuing this over the long term, 30s, 40s, 50s, and onwards. This is what I want to do with my life. And the real big picture that I have in my head is probably a topic for another video because it's really involved, but basically, do the best light shows on Earth and do it solo. Me as a solo performer, you coming to see me perform a live light show. That is in contrast to how I've been doing things so far. So in one way, shape, or form, I've been doing light shows for about 11 years now. But the first 8 years of that were all kind of experimental things, like underground things, me just trying out different ideas and tinkering around, not really coming to the point where I could get out there and actually perform in front of people. And then I had a bit of a technical breakthrough of sorts in early 2019, and then in March of 2019, I performed my first live public light show, and I had a huge break for a while. I mean, bookers were passing me around like a used whore. It was crazy. Everybody wanted to book me, and my problem has been, while that has done great things for me as far as making connections and getting stage time and just enjoying doing this thing that I want to do, I've always been alongside a DJ. All my public live light shows before this have been, the DJ is right here and I'm within 3 feet or so is usually what I tell producers. I want to be right next to the DJ. And for me, it's really difficult when I'm playing my ass off, I'm performing, but all eyes are on the DJ. I always thought of, at least in terms of electronic music, where light shows are really common, that the DJ, the music side, is only ever at most one half of the show. DJs provide the music, that's one half of the show, but there's a whole other giant chunk of it, the light show, that I think is sorely not thought of at all. Not to the extent that I see it should be. So the real significance of Hydrotechnics was, for the first time ever, after performing with all these different DJs and enjoying doing so. I'm not trying to rag on DJs here, but my goal for the longest time has been to eventually transition into being a solo performer. And this past, or well, 2 weekends ago now at Hydrotechnics was my first time ever being the only person on stage, just me. And man, that was trippy because I'm so used to people pay to see a certain DJ and, you know, all eyes are on them. And even though I'm doing like half of the show right next to them, nobody's paying attention to me. I feel like a wallflower sometimes, where now I was providing the music and I had a crowd in front of me and all eyes are on me. It was a little jarring, actually. Like, oh shit, this is what I wanted, right? You know, actually having a crowd in front of me, looking towards me to provide them the show, was a little bit harrowing, but also somewhere like deep down, I knew like, this is it. This is what I fucking want. This is like, it was a very eye-opening moment of, this is what the future holds for me. And Hydrotechnics was a little bit of that first glimpse into moving towards that bigger picture that I have for light shows. To recap the weekend itself a little bit musically, day one, I did techno and a little bit of trance. Day two, I did house and trance. And then day three was pure drum and bass, baby. I've been on a drum and bass tear for at least 8 or 9 months now. 90% of what I've been listening to has been drum and bass. And I can tell when I'm performing, when I'm off, when I'm doing so-so, or when I'm fucking on. And day three, when I went into my drum and bass set, just the stuff I've been listening to for months and months now, finally just hammering it on my Phoenix One, that's the controller that I use, I could tell I was just fucking on. And honestly, it's probably the most fun I've had performing in a while. Maybe the most ever. There's definitely been some highlights over the years of performing with certain people, but just nailing it, you know, my first time performing solo was definitely memorable. It's something I'm going to look back on for a while, and I do have some videos I'm going to be putting up. I did do a recording session at the festival. I don't know. I have my reservations about putting them up because I'm trying to get better at videography and doing multiple different angles of light shows and all the different visual things that I want to do, whereas this was one static angle the whole time, which is not the most interesting thing visually, but regardless, it is capturing me in kind of a peak form of sorts, at least in certain moments. So those are going to be up shortly. I would like to put up a video about kind of the origins of me and light shows, like why did I get into this? Why does it interest me so much? And really the beautiful potential that I see in light shows if I can bring the idea that I have up here to life. So look forward to those videos coming out soon. I don't know how long it's going to take to edit them. Editing's a bitch. It takes a while, but they will be coming out soon, and check out those when they come out. See ya.